Well, hello. Today I'm going to show you the geraniums. Yesterday was all about the begonias. Geraniums are a little more complicated just because there's so many varieties and a little bit of variation. So it gets a little bit more challenging for us. So let me switch the camera around here. Okay, geraniums, no flowers there. Now here is a lineup of the different types of geraniums that we have. I tried to line up every color so that you can kind of get a peek at that. And then of course we have more geraniums here. This is greenhouse 2. We also have geraniums in greenhouse 5. So geraniums all over the place. I'm going to start with kind of the most distinct ones. So the white geraniums, I'm going to admit these are not the best specimens of geraniums, but I picked the ones with flowers on it so you can kind of see. There is the white geranium, and that one's always really popular. It's a really easy one. It's just like any of the other geraniums as far as growing. The only difference is that you will notice that your white geraniums do tend to get a little bit of a brown, so you want to clean those a little bit. So this is still good right now, but when you clean geraniums, it's pretty easy. You just kind of put your hand, let's see if I can give you a view, down to the bottom, and you can just snap off those flowers and they'll come right off. And same thing with any yellow leaves that you might notice. You can just pop those off really easily. So that's the white. Now if you like an old-fashioned geranium, there's the variegated leaf one, and it has a name. It's Wilhelm Languth, and it has, now this is not, this flower is almost spent. It has that really traditional geranium color, a little bit more of an orange type of flower to it. So that's a popular one. And the other variety without the variegated leaf is going to be the Scarlet Fire. That's that kind of orangey geranium that just stands out from a distance. That's one that you're going to, if you really like that traditional geranium look, Scarlet Fire's really a popular one for that. But a lot of people don't like orangish in their geraniums. So if you're one of those people, always go for the dark red. The dark red is really more of a true red color, and red flowers never show up great on camera, but this really is a nice rich red color. It's not burgundy, but it does have that nice reddish quality to it, a red blue as opposed to the red orange. Okay, so now we start getting a little bit more complicated when we move over here. These, I'm going to say, are more in the coral family. So when we go in here, I'm going to start with the actual coral. And coral tends to be kind of a pinkish color, but also has sometimes a tiny bit of magenta in it. And so that one there is the calliope coral. But then when we go over to this one, wait, I want to go to the other coral first. That's going to be Americana coral. So this one here is another coral, but it's called Americana coral, and this one is a lot more orange. So if you are looking for a kind of something that's going to look good with orange, go with the Americana coral, especially like if you're in Rogers City or Hillman and you want your school colors in there. That's going to be the closest to orange. We used to have a really great kind of almost hunter orange geranium, but they've stopped providing it, and we're not able to get it. So that's something to think about there. So again, if you're looking for something as close to orange as possible, that's the Americana coral. Now I'm going to show you a couple others here. When we go in here, this is the orange splash. So very similar to the coral, except, let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. There is a little color variation. Anytime you hear the name splash or anything like that in a geranium, it usually means it has two tones. So you can see the two tones in the center there. It's a little darker in the center. That sometimes makes it easier if you're trying to match two plants together. If you have the two tones, a lot of times it's a little more forgiving, whereas if you have some that don't match, or if you're trying to match them and they don't quite match up, it's not quite as forgiving. Now over here, we do have the Big E's or Big Easy watermelon and the Big E's, I'm trying to remember, neon. At this moment, and these are kind of sad flowers on these right now, I can't visually tell the difference. Now that might change as the season progresses. Right now, I mean, it's a really great color, and it does almost have the center of a watermelon on the one. But again, neon and watermelon are looking a lot alike right now. Then what else can I show you? Over here, this is the Foxy Flamingo. Now again, not the best flower on this, but this one is one of the two tones. So that one's really pretty cool, and that one is called the Big E's Foxy Flamingo. This is new this year for us. Actually, all the Big E's are new for us this year. So this is one, if you are looking for something totally unique, this is where to go. And you'll notice the Big E's varieties, they all have the little bit of two colors in the leaves. So that's one of the big variations. So you have different colored flowers, and then usually you might find either the two-tone leaves or the solid leaves or the super variegated. So that's kind of our pink department. Well, our coral department. If I want to go into pink, I'm going to go into Crimson Flame right here. Now Flame, kind of like the Splash, is a two-tone. This is, again, not the best flower example, but this probably is one of my favorites, the Crimson Flame. It's got the two tones, it's pink, it's red, it's really bright, it really stands out. It's a strong performer, so you can always count on that one. And then over here is the Americana Light Pink Splash. So again, Splash, we could predict that it would have two tones. And to show you the difference between this one and this one over here, which is the Maestro Idols Light Pink Parfait. I'm going to bring them closer together so you can see the difference in the flower. Now the petal size, don't get worried about that. Some of these are pretty young plants, and when they get into bigger pots, the flowers a lot of times get a little bigger, so it might be a little deceiving on that. The other one that I'm going to show you here is the Salmon. Again, this one's almost spent. Salmon is kind of in that light pink family, but it's got that little bit of coral hint to it. So it is not a light pink, but I guess it is a true salmon. Sorry, I should drop that down. And the Salmon is another one that we could really reliable. We lost our regular light pink, which is the Calliope light pink. They stopped providing that one too, so that's why we ended up getting two of the Splashes, just because there were no light pink available this year. So now I'm going to bounce over to the other side, which are kind of the more unusual pink shades. So Americana Cherry Rose is a nice kind of hot pink color, and it's very similar to, and of course this one's almost spent. Actually, I'm going to show you this one over here. Very similar to the large hot pink or hot rose. They're almost identical. The biggest difference, the hot rose has the two tones in the leaf, and the Americana rose does not. It has the solid leaf. So those, as far as color of flower, almost identical. And that again was the large hot rose over here. That's got the two-tone leaves. And then the Americana Cherry Rose, sorry, I'm moving the camera all over the place. There. Now, behind that we have the regular large hot pink. Very similar, a little bit lighter in color, but it is hot pink, which is followed up right here by the large lavender. And lavender definitely is a totally different shade, just like the Salmon from the other ones. A lot of the other varieties you're going to see kind of a gradation in those colors, but the Salmon and the violet, or rather the Salmon and the lavender, are going to definitely be very different when you look at them. And then the last one I'm going to show you is the violet, and I only have this little tiny one to show you, but it is kind of got more of that cherry, well, I shouldn't say cherry because the other ones are called cherry, but it's got definitely a magenta kind of pink to it. And I think, based on looking at my screen, it actually is darker than what I see on my screen, but I'm not sure what it looks like on yours. So, there we have it. A couple tips when you're working with geraniums. Geraniums actually don't need as much water as people sometimes think they do. So, sometimes they perform better if you abuse them a little bit. So here we have some orange splash, and I'm going to just show you again how to clean them. Let me just find some leaves that are spent. Well, these are in too bad a shape, but if you did see this one, let's say you wanted to get that one out of the way, you're going to just go down to the base. You can use snips that are sterile, or you can just crack them off yourself. And then when the flowers are done, it's exactly the same thing. You just get in there, snap it off, and you're done. Most geraniums do well both in sun and in part sun, so they're really forgiving that way. And they're really, really low maintenance, so don't be afraid of geraniums. I know some people think they're old lady plants, but look at these colors that we have now. When you start looking at that kind of stuff, there's no way you're gonna say that's what my grandma used to have. Now I'm going to show you two other plants, and these are the tall, dark, and handsome varieties. You can see the big difference with these. Look at the leaves. You got kind of a chocolate cover with that little rim that's got the green. This comes in two colors. So there's the deep orange, or deep blood orange, I think, or something like that. And then it also comes in hot pink. And this is a really large variety. So it gets a lot bigger than a lot of the other ones. So this one can get up to 48 inches tall. It sometimes is good to put it in a cage just to kind of keep it in its spot for a little bit. But again, look at the leaves on those. But this one's a standout. If you want to have the showiest geranium, go for a tall, dark, and handsome. You know, people don't realize that you can get these gargantuan ones, so they're going to think that you just use special fertilizer or something. Let's see. We've trimmed a lot of our geraniums, so I don't have a lot to show you. Let's take a, here's that Americana Coral again. So this is the one that I was telling you about, Americana Coral. It's got the closest thing to a bright orange. I don't know if our light is good enough in here right now for you to see the color. So there you have it. Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you got a little information, and I'll see you next time.